Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F122, my team career mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we are headed to the Mexican Grand Prix here, fresh off of a very interesting episode with a retirement in Japan due to a mechanical failure, and then we had the issues in Coda, which we rebounded tremendously to finish inside of the top 10, and now here we are headed into Mexico. If you guys remember back in the F1 2021 career mode, the same track that we got our first ever win actually in Formula 1 at in the Aston Martin car. But however, getting ready here to get the elbows out in Mexico, and as well Sergio Perez, his final home Grand Prix before he hangs up the helmet here. Just a few races left on the season. 3 GPs remain. Max Verstappen has the potential to clinch the World Drivers' Championship here today in Mexico due to Lewis Hamilton's misfortune in the last episode at Circuit of the Americas. Now, as he is going to need a very, very good day as we were underway now in free practice one here. And the first and opening lap was a little bit rough for me. Things didn't go quite how I was hoping for it to go. Now as I was just trying to get up to speed and, you know, hit my marks again and understand where my marks are. Mexico, a very fun track to drive here in this F1 game. I've really been enjoying this one. Now I really make a lot of mistakes in that final corner. That's where I lost a lot of time throughout this episode. But we were red in the first lap on the time delta here in the race strategy. However, we would kind of pick things up and kind of settle in and get into the zone immediately after that. We went positive for the next 3 consecutive laps, which of course is the goal. So through the final turn now, things were looking pretty good. So not sure where we're going to stack up here. We've been having some issues recently here once again with feel. I don't know what it is with this game. I don't know if it's a bug or what, but I've noticed that in the last, I would say, 7, 8 Grand Prix of the season, feel is a serious issue. I remember earlier this season we could put in half a lap of feel in the car and we would end with more than half a lap of feel at times. However, for some reason, like I said, it's almost like after the summer break basically, feel suddenly becomes an issue where if I put in half a lap of feel in the car now for the Grand Prix, and this happened last season and it's happening again this season, we lose an unbelievable amount of feel. Like I said, I don't know if it's a bug or what exactly is going on there, but we were underway here in qualifying, and we'll see what happens with the fuel situation in the race now as we were underway trying to get as quick as we can here in this opening lap. I always want to just be able to make it into Q2 on one lap, but we haven't quite had that luxury yet. It's always taken 2 laps here. Hopefully next season we get our car to a point where we can just make it on one go going into Q2. You saw myself being a little bit aggressive right there in turn 2 on the track limits, but we made it work here through the S's. Now you got to be really aggressive if you want to be really quick through these S's. You got to abuse the track limits. That's the reality of the situation, and when we're on strict corner cutting, you got to be really careful. Like, look how close I am right there, just a little bit more to the left, and we're going to invalidate our lap time. So it was cutting it close, but we have come through to cross the line here for a decent lap. It wasn't great. We were still surrounded by Williams and an Aston Martin, so that was my telltale sign that we needed to improve. So I actually go out and of course remain on the track instead of coming into the pit lane here. So I felt like I had enough battery to try and maybe get a little bit better here still. We were now 4 to 5/10 of a second better, 6/10 of a second. Look at the time we just gained here in this final sector now through a couple more corners now, and we are looking pretty good here going into this final turn. 7/10 of a second. Do we see 8/10 of a second? I think we do. Yes, we do. 8/10 of a second, nearly 9/10 of a second. We cross the line. It is P5 here, and then we would go out for our final lap here late in the session. Now yellow flags actually. Front straightaway doesn't look like anything actually happening here. Now Latifi certainly did not do me any favors right there. And then as we come through now the final turn, you can see about a 10th down, so we don't go faster, and we go for a spin actually there. Hit the rear wing on the barrier. No damage thankfully, but I spin out and completely choked there. But fortunately we get P11. Esteban Ocon with a 5-place grid penalty actually, and he got that for illegal blocking. So that is not good there for the Alpine. Now it's Pourchaire putting up a good pace as well, and Teo has been really stepping it up here lately, and he continues to do so here in Mexico qualifying now as we come through into Q2 and trying to focus on getting into Q3. It's going to be tough. We're right on that fine line, it looks like, between myself and Teo to get into that 3rd qualifying session, but let's see if we can make it happen here now as we come through to cross the line for our first lap. It's currently P6, 1 spot ahead of Pourchaire now coming through to make another lap late in the session. We're running currently P14 and P15. Yellow flags on the front straightaway, and I'm getting held up by Carlos Sainz tremendously. That's ruined my lap, and I have to back it down. Sebastian Vettel is out of the session. He has actually crashed. Here's a replay. He has crashed directly into the back of one of the AlphaTauris. What in the world was that? I'm not sure if it was Gasly or Tsunoda. However, Vettel, I mean, with the silliest move of the day, absolutely takes himself out here. Now as we focus back forward to myself here after they got that mess cleaned up, and this was the second lap after the recharge and slowdown, and I had not gone much faster at this point here. Slower in sector 1, however, we were finding some more pace here in the second sector, but not as much as I was certainly hoping for, and it was looking like Porcher was going to be P16 as we come through the final turn, looking for 3/10, maybe 4/10 of a second. It's not going to quite be 4/10, it's about 3.5. We crossed the line. It's still P14. Can't do any better than that, unfortunately. Pierre Gasly as well with a grid penalty due to that accident with Sebastian Vettel actually there. So a big moment there, as now you can see up at the front, of course, Verstappen and Hamilton, they make it into Q3. We've got to pay a lot of attention to both of those drivers here today, but you see that Gasly got a penalty for the collision with Sebastian Vettel, so they are going to put him at fault, which is really interesting, although Sebastian drove directly into the back of him. But nonetheless, let's head to the grid here for the Mexican Grand Prix after a wild qualifying session.
Welcome to Mexico City, the most popular city in North America, and home, of course, to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd as usual here at one of the shortest circuits on the Formula One calendar. And who, I wonder, will they be cheering on the top step of today's podium? The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Carlos Sainz and Ricciardo. Vettel, Ocon, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Oscar Piastri and Golden Boy. Leclerc, Joe, Pierre Gasly and Théo Pourchaire. Hamilton, Albon, Lance Stroll and Lando Norris. Tsunoda, Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
We are ready to go green, and you can see the effects of the grid penalties now. We are up inside the top 10 here for the start. It is, however, supposed to rain very late in this Grand Prix. So another bit of a curveball once again. So I decided to start on the hard compound tire and then go to the medium, because I was hoping that I could basically take this hard compound tire all the way to the rain, where else you can see everybody else on the medium compound tire. They're obviously, unless it starts raining early enough, they're not going to be able to make it. So I'm hoping that we can actually gain a bunch of track position on the one-stop strategy. It could work, it might flop. We're about to find out here now as we pull up to our grid box and are ready to go. Lights up from P10. Zhou Guanyu just behind us there, as well as Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. What an abysmal season it has turned into, and he is, I'm sure, ready to get this season over with and focus in on that third season with the Ferrari here as we are ready to go. Lights out here from the Mexican Grand Prix. Max Verstappen leads away, and it's lights out. We are underway here from Mexico. George Russell currently in second as they run right now. If Max Verstappen beats Lewis Hamilton at all today, it is over. Max Verstappen will be a two-time World Drivers' Champion here in the second season of this career mode. Now upping Leclerc by 1 there, 4 wide, 5 wide nearly. I thought they were going to go into turn 1. What a send from Daniel Ricciardo in the Alfa Romeo up into the top 3 briefly there. Valtteri Bottas there in the Ferrari going to get back ahead of him potentially here as we head down to the next heavy braking zone. George Russell is able to hold on to that second position, but Max Verstappen absolutely loves what he sees in his rear view mirror. You see 3 wide as well. I mean, these drivers going at it. Look at that. There's Sebastian Vettel 3 wide in the middle with the McLaren as well as the Alpine Perez in his final start here in his home Grand Prix in Mexico. Of course, looking for a good day now as you see Carlos Sainz and Vettel side by side here now as we head down into the S's. The Spaniard is going to take the position. It's going to be a 2-for-1 special for Perez though in his final start here in Mexico. What a move there from Perez to take over the position from both Sebastian Vettel and Carlos Sainz, who were just too caught up racing each other right there. What a wild start, and hold on, it continues. Vettel contact right there with Sainz there, and it's going to stack up a whole bunch of cars now. These guys are absolutely going at it right now. As you can see, the Haas is as well going to be able to potentially pass Sebastian Vettel here through this final turn. Can Mick Schumacher gain the position on Vettel? I don't think he's going to be able to have the pace here now. No, he will not. Vettel is going to stay ahead briefly now, but you can see the slipstream right here. Hold on, Schumacher is not done yet now as you got Esteban Ocon just gliding right behind these guys, waiting for something to maybe happen here as we head down into turn 1 once again. What an opening lap here in the Mexican Grand Prix. You see Leclerc as well in the mix right now, trying to play it safe. Lewis Hamilton with his grid penalty as well, trying to play it safe and smart here now, as it was a decent start for myself. I was right on the back of this pack that we were focused on, but unfortunately you do see I did get passed by Teo Porcher. So right now Trankhouse running P13, P14 should be news coming next episode, by the way, on the future of our teammate at Trankhouse Racing here. Now, of course, we switched at the end of season 1 from Piastri to Porcher. Justin Merckx signed on Porcher because Piastri didn't want to sign on with this team anymore. As you can see now on lap 5, here it comes actually Zhou Guanyu to pass us along the right hand side. His AI has been really struggling ever since this My Team career mode got underway, but you can certainly see the lack of pace that I had compared to the other drivers that were on the medium and faster compound tires. So it was certainly not looking very good for me in the opening moments of this race, and I was a bit surprised actually by the lack of pace that I had in this car in these opening laps on this hard compound tire. And actually I think I was calling Piastri Mick Schumacher the whole time. That was who was battling with Sebastian Vettel, but it was Piastri, not Schumacher here. And speaking of Piastri, we're going to go past him. Zhou got past him, and then I'm going to follow through as well. And then we have the slipstream DRS overtake on the ERS, and we're going to come through side by side here as we're going to head down into the left, and then next double right-handers, and we're going to be able to gain the position here potentially on Zhou. Yes, we will. Up another position, so 2 positions here within the last 20 seconds or so, and we try to continue to move on here now and follow up towards Teo Porcher again, our teammate there in 12th place, and get closer and closer to potentially some points here today. But we know they're going to have to pit relatively soon, and we're going to be on our own cycle here, so we're going to be way off cycle compared to them. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. However, look in the bottom right, 0.24 extra laps of fuel. It is significantly decreasing again. You would have thought that I would have learned by now. However, we are expecting rain in around 10 to 15 minutes, Mark says, but it looks like we are going to be significantly low on fuel again. And like I said, I don't know if it's a bug or what, but it's crazy how after the summer break in season 1 and 2, suddenly the fuel just wears at a significant rate, and you can see it's happening again here. Now lap 17, Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo in the pit lane. Hamilton is going to need a miracle here today as Max Verstappen leads this race and is about to clinch his second World Driver's title. And there you see him now on lap 18 in the box here for the hard compound tire. George Russell is the only one putting pressure on him right now, but he's still a few seconds back there, but both in the pits at the same time on that hard compound tire. My teammate as well as several other drivers into the pit lane here on lap 18, and we're going to move up into P6 here, but we were already in significant fuel issues here. Now as you can see me asking Mark for the weather because I'm wanting it to rain as quick as possible because of the fuel issues here. You can see we would cycle up into P4 now behind Valtteri Bottas there in the Ferrari, and then the pit window opens here on lap 20. Perez goes by, but I am not going to pit at the pit window because now we have committed to the strategy of holding out to the rain. The rain is way too close to decide to come in here, and then we would have to pit again anyways within probably, I would assume, around 10 or so laps at this point in time. You can see the cloud cover is continuously increasing here as these laps wind on now, as there was barely any blue sky to be seen on lap 22. As you can see, we're coming up on Bottas again, and Perez, they're scrapping out. And in his final race here in Mexico, his home Grand Prix, Sergio Perez is onto the podium. We hope to see him on the podium here today, but he's got to make sure he doesn't damage that front wing, battling with Valtteri Bottas there wheel to wheel. That brings me right back into the mix here now. And actually what I was trying to do is I was trying to fight Bottas so that way Perez could get ahead and actually in the background you saw yellow flags, so I'm not sure what quite happened there, but they got it cleaned up very, very quick now. As you can see, though, Bottas once again takes the position, but I'm trying to find a way to help Perez myself here because I would rather see Perez on the podium in his final race here in Mexico. Yellow flags again on the front straightaway, lap 23. It's George Russell who's going to be out of the Grand Prix. The only pressure that was on Max Verstappen was this guy right here, and his day is going to come to an end. George Russell is out here in Mexico, and Verstappen can basically cruise to victory if we don't see a safety car at this point here now, and it's looking pretty unlikely that we're going to see one at this point, as we might as well go for a late race update. That moves Perez up at a second. He did get past Bottas, and you can see Sebastian Vettel now had run me down, and he was about to pass me, and Hamilton was not far away as well. As you can see, Leclerc rounding up the top 10. A very rough day so far for Charles Leclerc. We just haven't really seen any progress from him after starting P11. He's only now up to P10 in 24 laps. Lastly, they're having a rough day as well for the AlphaTauri Porsche. Piastri all the way down to P18. You want to talk about a rough day as well. It's been a rough day for Piastri now. Lance Stroll down in 21st place. And then, of course, we have out of the race George Russell. And as we come back here to live scenes, you can see a yellow flag again on the front straightaway. This time, it is going to be an AlphaTauri. I believe it's Yuki Tsunoda who's out of the Grand Prix. So he had a mechanical failure as well. Once again, no safety car here as we run P5. Lewis Hamilton now up to the back of me. I wasn't really trying to hold Lewis back here though. Although we are, an affiliate teammate with Red Bull, I still don't want to get in the battle of the championship between Lewis and Max here. But look at this. We were negative 0.74 laps of fuel when the rain had finally started to fall on lap 28. Now, fortunately for me, the rain had fallen quick enough to where as we come through to the end of lap 28, Hamilton, Bottas are wheel to wheel, side by side, just about running into each other. You can see I have a big moment right there of oversteer, but the track was already getting wet enough to where we have to come in for the intermediate compound tire. You can see though, Bottas, Hamilton, everybody in front of us actually, they're going to stay out at least for an extra lap. I come into the pits there, nearly lock up and slide right into the barrier. But however, we're going to come in for this intermediate compound tire, but we're only going to have 8 laps to try and find a way to save negative 0.74 laps of fuel or so. We need to find a way to get that, of course, to 0.00 to have any chance of making it to the finish of this race. So that is certainly a concern there. You can see we're going to exit in P11, so we're having a very, very strong effort here today in Mexico after using the strategy to our advantage, doing one last pit stop. Here we are cycling out now, still right behind Bottas and Hamilton, and I was taking a quick look at the field, and the situation had not improved whatsoever. Usually when the track is as wet as this, you will save quite a bit of fuel just naturally, no matter how hard you drive the track. However, it wasn't really happening here. I was saving a little bit at the absolute best and nowhere near close to the amount I needed to save, so I only had one option left. I could not fight any of these guys. I had to start doing the lift and coast strategy. Again, that is getting really old at this point here in this, I guess you could say first half of the season, basically after the summer break. So you can see myself now starting to lift and coast, and it was working. We were now down to negative 0.64, but we only had 5 or so laps to go. Spinner in turn 1, actually, it's Zhou Guanyu has gone around, and you can see the replay here, and you can see the AlphaTauri right there of Gasly comes to a stop, and as Aston Martin's going to come piling in just about, he stops, and then you can see they get going again here, and Zhou Guanyu is actually going to run into more issues. He just drove to the side of the Haas right there and tore his front wing right off the car. He's going to pull over out of the race actually here, as now the tire just fell off the car. What in the world was that? The tire just popped off the car. We got a virtual safety car because of that, which is helpful for the field. However, I was hoping for a full safety car because that would have been a game changer, game saver, race saver, I guess you could call it, but we didn't quite get that luxury. But it still allowed us to save enough fuel to get into more of a opportunity kind of area to, of course, make it to the end of this race here. But look at the line of cars behind us, and I could not fight them. Esteban Ocon passing us here, lap 33, 4 laps to go, and we need to save an average of 0.1 laps of fuel, to make it per lap here to the end of this race. And you can see Ocon with a bit of a moment right there, and that opened the door for Sainz to go around us now. So we lose a position to Carlos, and here comes Charles Leclerc as well, trying to rebound here on his rough days. Now up to P9, he's about to take P8 because I just could not really barely fight him at this point. You can see the lift and coasting that I am doing is quite extreme at this point. I'm basically just trying to hold on to points. Save enough fuel, but try to hold on to a single point, and I'll take it. Well, here comes Daniel Ricciardo. Porcher is 4.4 seconds back, and you can see I was saving the fuel necessary. Now down to negative 0.02, negative 0.1 now as we come through to 2 laps to go, and I just still can't fight Ricciardo. I don't have enough fuel in the car to fight. So Ricciardo, he's going to pass us. We jump down to P10. Porcher having a great day as well in P11. We start the final lap negative 0.07, but this would allow Porcher to close within 0.3 of a second, 0.2 of a second here as we head down into turn 1. I'm giving it everything I got to say. Head down into turn 1 and then once again lift and coast to save that fuel anytime we have a corner. But a corner like this, of course, trying to get going quicker than Porcher so that way he can't have a lunge at me down into the braking zone now. But Max Verstappen through the final corner, he is going to become a 2-time world champion as he's going to win the Mexican Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, it wasn't meant to be for Lewis in that 8th world title fight in his final Mexican Grand Prix. Sergio Perez in his home Grand Prix is going to be able to be on the podium. Sebastian Vettel is going to join him as well with 2 Red Bull Porsches on the podium. Look at the field in the closing moments, negative 0.01. It's right down to the very end. It's going to be very close, but I think we're going to be okay because there it goes green briefly. It might dip back into the red as we head down onto the throttle. Yes, it does, but it goes back into the green, and it's going to be enough. Just barely. Low fuel mode kicks in. We're just in front of Porcher, slipping and sliding. We're going to cross the line in front of him, and we barely hang on to a single point there. P10. What a miserable ending to the race with the fuel. We really need to get on top of that going into Brazil and just overfuel the daylights out of this car. Lewis Hamilton, driver of the day. Let's head to the podium for the post-race celebrations.
With that, another year of Formula One draws to a close, and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. That's a spectacular victory, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
Well, there you have it. I was really hoping we could see like Perez somehow with Alpine win the Grand Prix, but you know what? For him to be on the podium is still very cool to see with Alpine, which is clearly not the best team on the grid, but still a very competitive team as he's up to 5th in the standings, overtakes George Russell. I mean, George Russell, who's won multiple races this season, is surprisingly down in 6th in the standings here, as you can see the rest of the standings now. Trackhouse is actually tied with Alfa Romeo as we continue to make big gains in it. We have a realistic chance, obviously, of being P7, but we will not be able to go any further than that. Very curious to see where we could end up next season here in the Constructors' Championship now, as we immediately, once again, as usual, look into getting some upgrades here into this car and get this thing moving quick. But just 2 Grand Prix remain on Season 2. Season 3, the livery is already complete. It looks very, very cool. We finally have a title sponsor. I can confirm that. I'm not going to tell you guys what. If you're in the Discord, you probably would know already. But however, it looks very, very cool, and I am very excited for you guys to be able to see that when we get to that off-season video post Abu Dhabi. As always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Those would all be very appreciated. The championship is decided with 2 races still remaining, so we can kind of go into Brazil and Abu Dhabi and have a little bit of fun and see what happens there. So if you guys enjoyed, like I said, you know what to do, and I will see you guys in the next one for the Brazilian Grand Prix, one of my favorite circuits in the world as well. Got to be a top 10 for me now, as I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, everybody.